Now, if you are fed up with riding on a bus, on a train, breathing in people's coughs, getting an illness, and spending a fortune on train tickets that never seem to be the same price week to week, then this Honda Monkey 125 could be your answer, because this motorcycle will do, official figures, 188 miles per gallon. So could it be cheaper to own one of these than it is to commute on a train or a bus? The Monkey costs just over £4,000 brand new in the UK. So if you think about it, when you come to sell this motorcycle, they hold their value quite well. You can obviously get them slightly cheaper second hand if it's a few years old, but you're buying an asset, and whether you pay £4,000 for it and sell it in 3 years' time for £3,000, if you spent that money on public transport, you're not getting that back. Whereas this, you will get that money back, and you'll save a ton on fuel, even if you do less journeys in your car. If you think about it, how many people travel to work and they're in this big SUV and there's only one person in it and they're using loads and loads of petrol? If you rode on one of these, you'd save yourself a lot of money. But perhaps those people in these big SUVs aren't really worried about saving money. You feel me? It's great fun, this bike, as just demonstrated. You can flick it about wherever you want to go. It's so light. This would be great fun for anyone of all ages. You could buy one of these, and if you had a little bit of land or a big garden, you could let your son or daughter have a go on it around the garden. They'd have a hoot of a time, and then you could also use it yourself. It's absolutely fantastic, it really is. It's ever so light. I think this would pretty much go anywhere. It's got good suspension, it's got slightly knobbly tyres, and because it's so small and so light, it's ever so easy to get out of trouble. If you got stuck, you can just pick it up. It's really, really light. It weighs, what, 110 kilos? 104 kilograms. That is unbelievably light, and it really does feel it. When you're pushing it along, you can literally wheel it down the road. It doesn't feel any heavier than a bicycle. Obviously it is, but the way that it balances its weight is quite remarkable. Did you know that subscribing to this channel is clinically proven to increase the size of your...
Now, as Darcy said, I mean, it is so light. You can literally pick it up and turn it around and face the other way. But you don't really need to do that, because the turning circle is so sharp that you can pretty much turn around in one U-turn in any road. So it's the perfect city bike. It's very manoeuvrable, and it's really great fun in the countryside as well. So it's an all-round bike. It'd be a perfect second bike, but it's certainly a really good first bike. And it's not too fast. It's got such lovely handling. It's very comfortable. So it'd be a really good bike for your son or daughter when they first start out, because it's a pretty safe motorcycle to be riding on.
I do think this would be a perfect bike for a 17-year-old new rider, because it is so easy to use. It's got an ever so light clutch. It's got 5 gears. It doesn't go fast enough to get you into serious trouble. If you're lucky downhill, you'll get 60 miles an hour out of it, but on the flat, you'll get about 45, 48 with someone of my height and weight on it. But if you're a bit lighter, if you're a 17-year-old, you might be a bit lighter than I am, so you might get a little bit more speed out of it. But I think the main issue that's stopping young people riding motorcycles, and I've said this before, is the cost. And not just the cost of the bike, because this is a pretty cheap bike as modern day standards go, but the main factor that stops young people riding is the cost to do a test, which obviously isn't that much of a problem on this, because you only need to do a CBT, which is compulsory basic training, which is about 150 quid, 1-day course, and you can ride it with L plates. But if you then want to take the L plates off and do a proper test, you'd have to fork out probably £800 to do that, and then you'd have to do a test again when you're 19 and fork out another £800 to do that, and then you'd have to do a test again when you're 21 and fork out another £800 to do that. So that's why young people aren't on motorbikes. And also the cost of insurance. It probably costs them just as much to insure one of these as it will to insure a car, and in a car you can take 4 of your friends and a tent and go on a camping trip. You can't do that on a Honda Monkey.
Now, would you believe this, but currently this is my favourite Honda out of the whole Honda motorcycle range, because it looks so cool. It's so funky. You've got this lovely tartan seat, and it comes in red. This is the red one, yellow or white. I would go for the red one. I think that looks beautiful. You've got these lovely chrome mudguards, twin shocks, all nicely done in the red. These lovely little alloy wheels. Nice engine. This engine's been going for donkey's years, and it's so reliable and so well proven and very, very good. You've got a little mudguard at the front, which looks kind of cool. Obviously, the engine does get dirty because it doesn't come down there. What it does these days. You've got a really nice central, thank goodness, speedometer. It's quite hard to read. It's quite dark actually, but that's not a big problem. You don't really need to look at it. You're not going that fast. So the design is great. You've got these little mini ape bars, lovely petrol tank there. It's a very cool design. So in terms of looks, it's a real eye catcher, and turning up on one of these, you're going to get conversations going. It's really, really, really good. Now, if you're 17 or 18, do you agree with me? Do you think this is cool? I think it's really cool. Would you be able to turn up to college on one of these and show all your friends and people you don't know? Would you feel cool on it? I would, because it's so kind of different. It's such a statement that it is cool. But you may not think the same. When you're young, you get more self-conscious. When you're my age, you don't really care. But in terms of the size of the bike, now I'm just under 6'3", and the riding position is surprisingly comfortable. You know, my knees aren't too bent. In fact, this is a much nicer riding position than a huge number of larger bikes, in fact. So I don't have a problem with the riding position whatsoever. So anyone from my height and below, you're going to have no trouble riding this. And the seat is just about big enough for 2-up riding, if you sit well at the front there. So it does everything. Has it got rear pegs? Actually, it hasn't, no. So I don't know whether legally you could ride 2-up, and I guess you could if you put the pegs on it. But it's designed for a one-person ride. Years ago, when I was, in fact, 7 or 8, I had the Honda ST70, which is a similar looking bike to this. I used to ride it around the farm tracks, and that's how I started out riding motorcycles. So young people don't do that now so much, do they? Mostly inside on their computer games. But it's a shame, isn't it? Because you know, a bike like this around a field is a hoot. And that's how you get started in motorcycle riding. And I think perhaps one of the main things, apart from what Darcy mentioned, the cost of getting started, is the cool factor. If you see someone who looks really cool out on a motorbike and you then start to desire looking like that, that's going to get you going and think, right, I want to do that. But what is there as an influence, particularly in the UK and Europe, for young people to say, right, I want to ride a motorbike? Is there that sort of influence? I don't know. Of course, we're super cool, but, you know, not everyone is.
Now, I've said in a previous video that I did on this bike maybe 2 years ago that I think this would be a fantastic bike for commuting. And whilst I still do think that, there is a big problem and an elephant in the room, certainly not this isn't an elephant, which is theft. Because theft of various different things has become worse and worse over the last few years in the UK, especially in London. So whilst this would be a fantastic cheap bike to run in London, and it would be fantastic for weaving in and out of traffic because it's so small, it's so manoeuvrable, when you get to your place of work and you have to leave this bike outside on the street, how easy is it to steal? Because it's so light. Even if you put a lock on it, people can get through these locks quite quickly with their cuts, pliers and things like that, and they've got angle grinders, some of these thieves, and they could quite easily pick it up with 2 blokes and put it in the back of a van within about 10 seconds. So that would be my only worry about owning one of these in a city.
Okay, so facts and figures on this bike. You've got 11 Newton meters of torque that peaks at 5,500 RPM on this engine, and the power is 9.2 brake horsepower, which peaks at 6,750 RPM. And there is room to increase that because the legal limit for a 125 is a little bit higher than that in terms of power. So if you put a different exhaust on it and a different air filter to let it breathe more, give a bit more power, then you've got room to do that. And some people do that, but you don't have to, of course. It's a quiet bike without an aftermarket exhaust, and in the cities, obviously, you don't want to wake the neighbours up early in the morning for commuting. So as it is, it's perfect, but there is room for improvement if you want to. Now, to operate this bike is ever so simple. You've got the clutch on the left, which you use to change the gears. The gears are on the left down there, 1 down, 4 up, and the rear brakes on the right and the front brakes on the right as well. And the throttle to make it go or slow down is on the right. You've got a little switch in red here that turns the engine on or off, and a starter button on the right. The key goes in the middle, and on the left you've got your lights, your horn and your indicators. So it's ever so simple. No modes, no stuff like that. You just get on and go. So it's a very easy motorcycle to ride. God, it does feel light, doesn't it? It's so light. Mirrors, for someone of my height and size, they're too far in. They need to be further out. That could be changed, but a normal sized person isn't like a gorilla, would probably be fine on it. But I am a gorilla and I love riding this bike. As I said, it's one of my favourites, well, if not, at the moment, the favourite Honda. But Honda are bringing out the GB350 modern classic motorcycle to the UK. It's been for sale elsewhere in the world for a long time. We can't wait to review that in this country. We did review it in Japan, and we did see a few of them when we were travelling India. But that's a bike we really want to get our hands on as soon as possible. But at the current time, this is my favourite Honda. And if you put me in a situation, let's say on a farm track, a bumpy off-road place to explore, and said, do you want this or an adventure bike? Guess which one I would choose? This. Because it's so easy to ride off-road. If you do get stuck, you can put your feet on the ground and push it. You can lift it up and move it out the way. On an adventure bike, they're so heavy, so overpowered, they're terrible off-road unless you're a professional rider. And, you know, most people aren't, let's face it. So this is brilliant to take it anywhere you like.
Hopefully this has been a helpful guide in deciding whether you want the monkey for yourself. I think 188 miles per gallon, official figures. Obviously it might be slightly less in the real world, but regardless, that is incredibly good MPG figures. It's unbelievable. That's UK miles per gallon, by the way, not American. They are different, don't know why. But either way, it's going to save you a lot of money on your fuel, and it's a great fun bit of kit. Every time I get on this bike, it puts a smile on my face. But make sure you stick around on the channel and make sure you're subscribed, because we have got a full-length movie feature of our India trip coming up. We're putting everything that we filmed together, and there's a lot of unseen footage going into this film. So I hope you will enjoy that, and we've got so much planned for this year. You do not want to miss it. It's going to be our most incredible year yet. So we'll see you very soon, and Happy New Year.